A successful businessman stands in his empty dream house, tears streaming down his face as he dials the woman he's loved for 7 years. She doesn't answer. Not because she's moved on, not because she found someone else, but because his own mother has literally cursed her with black magic, leaving her vomiting blood and unable to remember her own studies. And the only way to save her life? He has to marry someone else. But this story doesn't end there. What happens next will shock you even more. Welcome back to our channel, where we explore real stories from the Arab world that show just how complex family, love, and tradition can get. I'm here to share these powerful narratives while respecting the cultural context they come from. Today's story comes from someone who lived through an impossible choice between saving the woman he loved and keeping his family together. Before we begin, please remember these are real experiences from a different cultural background. Let's approach this with understanding and respect. Our story begins with Amir, the youngest son in a traditional Arab family. His father worked as a truck driver with daily wages, meaning he'd work one day and get paid that same day, barely making ends meet. But money wasn't Amir's biggest problem growing up. It was something far more damaging. You see, in some Arab culture, there's often an expectation that fathers will be strict with their sons to make them into men. But Amir's father took this to an extreme that crossed into emotional abuse. While he was gentle, playful, and loving with Amir's sisters, giving them all the affection in the world, he treated his sons with nothing but harshness. Picture this. Young Amir would come home excited with perfect grades, hoping for just a word of encouragement. Instead, his father would yell, "What good will all this studying do you? You'll just end up as an employee anyway." Meanwhile, his mother was his only source of warmth and support. The emotional neglect was so severe that when Amir's father died years later, neither Amir nor his brothers shed a single tear. Amir realized with shocking clarity that he felt relief, not grief. The first thought that crossed his mind when he heard his father was dead? Now I can finally relax and be happy. Now I won't have to hide in my room to avoid being humiliated. Now I can sit at the dinner table and eat in peace without lectures about manhood. This harsh upbringing shaped Amir into someone who relied purely on logic over emotion. At 13, yes, 13, his father delivered a devastating ultimatum. "I'm not spending another penny on you. You want to study? Then go work and support yourself. You're a man now. Forget about these study fantasies." This was the only time young Amir raised his voice to his father. "I'm not a man. I'm still a child. I'm only 13. His father's response was brutal. "You're a failed, spoiled generation. In our time, we were getting married and having children at 13 years old." For 4 years, Amir lived a crushing schedule, attending classes until 1:30 p.m., taking a short break, then working from 3 p.m. until midnight, coming home exhausted, sleeping 4 hours, then studying from dawn until 7:30 a.m. before school again. His father would mock him. "You deserve this. You're the one who wants to study, so bear the consequences." Through sheer determination, Amir graduated high school with a 91.3% average, an achievement that brought his mother to tears of joy. She told him, "Thank you for letting me feel what it's like to have a successful son. I'm proud of you." Those words were like medicine against years of his father's poison. Everything changed when Amir was 23. New neighbors moved into their area, a family with a daughter named Lena. The moment Amir saw her, something awakened in his heart that he'd never felt before. Remember, This is a man who locked away his emotions for years, someone who never cried, never felt romantic attraction to anyone. But Lena was different. She was in her first year in college, and Amir found himself memorizing her schedule, positioning himself to catch glimpses of her walking to her private tutoring sessions. For a month, he watched her from afar, hoping she'd notice him. She never did. When her tutoring ended before her final exams, Amir felt suffocated by her absence. After her exams finished, he gathered courage and got her phone number through his sister. His first message was simple. "Assalamu alaikum, I'm Amir, your neighbor's son. How were your exams?" She read it but didn't reply. Hours later, she finally responded politely. After a week of casual conversation about studies and university, Amir asked to meet her face to face. Her response crushed him. "Do you think I'm not decent just because I replied to you? You're crossing the line." She blocked him. But fate had other plans. Amir convinced his sister to invite Lena to an amusement park. In front of his sister, Amir apologized and confessed his feelings. "I've admired you since the day I first saw you. I waited until after your exams so I wouldn't distract you. I wanted to tell you this in person because words from the heart should be spoken face to face." His sister confirmed everything. "He's been asking about you since day one, talking about you constantly." Lena was shocked. Apparently, his feelings had been obvious to everyone except her. A month and a week later, Lena sent him a message that changed everything. "I've thought about what you said, and honestly, after all this time, I feel something for you too." What followed was 7 years of the most beautiful relationship Amir had ever imagined. Lena entered the same university, studying pharmacy while Amir studied architecture. Their love deepened beyond anything either had experienced. Amir, who had been a chain smoker, quit completely when Lena asked him to. The first week of withdrawal, he would shake uncontrollably at night, unable to sleep, but every time he felt weak, he'd remember her and push through. When Lena wasn't wearing hijab, Amir gently encouraged her to embrace it. She not only agreed, but transformed her entire wardrobe to modest clothing. They never had a single major fight. They solved everything through communication, never forcing anything on each other. Their trust was absolute. Once, another girl created a fake account pretending to be Lena and sent Amir fabricated screenshots claiming Lena was bad-mouthing him. Without even asking Lena about it, Amir confronted the girl and defended his relationship. When Lena learned about this later, she was moved to tears by his unwavering faith in her. After graduation, Amir threw himself into building his career with one goal: earning enough to marry Lena properly. He started as a regular employee, but quickly rose to assistant manager due to his exceptional work ethic. At 26, he entered a business partnership that multiplied his investment several times over, eventually allowing him to start his own real estate investment company. Throughout this journey, Lena was his anchor. When he was confused about business decisions, she guided him. When he was too busy to talk for days, she understood. When he bought his car and house, she helped him choose everything. "If you love it, then it's the best in the world," he would tell her. By age 30, Amir had achieved everything: a successful company bringing in high profits, a beautiful house, a nice car. Lena had graduated pharmacy school with her bachelor's degree and was pursuing her master's. After 7 years together, it was finally time. Amir approached his mother with excitement. "Mother, I want to get engaged. Everything is ready." His mother was thrilled, until he mentioned Lena's name. Her face changed completely. "I don't approve. You have money and a company now. You should marry someone better. She's probably just after your wealth." Amir was stunned. "But you know her family, Mother. They're actually better off than us financially. Her mother is a teacher. Her father is an accountant. How could she be after money when she loved me while I was still a student?" His mother's response was devastating. "Listen, I'm giving you a choice, either me or her." When Amir firmly refused, saying he could only love Lena, his mother's threats escalated. "You don't know what I'm capable of. By God, you'll leave her whether you want to or not." What happened next defies Western understanding, but is a terrifying reality in parts of the Arab world. Within days, both Amir and Lena began experiencing inexplicable symptoms. Amir would sleep for 32 hours straight and wake up exhausted. He'd go to bed after work and not wake up until the third day, feeling like he was drowning in fatigue. Meanwhile, Lena, a brilliant student who had never failed anything, suddenly couldn't remember her studies during exams. She would prepare perfectly, even teaching her classmates before tests. But the moment she entered the exam room, her mind would go completely blank. She failed exams she could have passed in her sleep, staring at questions like she'd never seen the subject before. When she begged her professor to let her retake the exam, explaining what happened, he refused. "The exam was fair. You turned in a blank paper. You get a 0. This was a girl who had always been at the top of her class. Amir found himself constantly dizzy and weak. Lena's health deteriorated rapidly, high fevers, inability to get out of bed, and when she'd wake up, she'd see nothing but blackness for 5 minutes before her vision returned. Then came the night that shattered Amir's world. He confronted his mother about their mysterious illnesses, and she looked him straight in the eye and said words that would destroy him. "I put a curse on Lena. Yes, you heard me correctly. And I did something small to you so you could feel a tiny fraction of what she's experiencing. What she's going through now is nothing compared to what's coming if you stay with her." Amir let out a hollow laugh, shaking his head. "This can't be real. You're telling me you actually did this? How could you go this far?" "Every word I've said is true. I used black magic on her, and you'll watch her suffer in front of you. The only way I'll undo it is if you leave her and marry your cousin Hala." The revelation sent Amir into complete shock. He raised his voice until his brother and sister-in-law came running from downstairs. "Why? Why did you do this to us? I love her. I don't want anyone else." He was crying and begging his mother, "If you don't undo this magic, I'm afraid of what might happen. This is too much for me to bear." Meanwhile, Amir's brothers tried desperately to reason with their mother, pleading with her to see what she was doing to their family. "This is wrong. You're destroying an innocent girl's future and our brother's sanity. This goes against everything we believe in," they begged. But their mother's response was absolutely chilling. She looked at them with cold, calculating eyes and said, "I didn't do anything wrong. And anyone who wants to question my decisions can leave my house right now." When they pressed her about Lena lying sick in a hospital bed, she became even more heartless. "I have no idea what's wrong with that girl. If my son wants her to get better, he needs to stay away from her and listen to his mother. Otherwise, he can take her to doctors and see what diseases they find. That's not my concern." The more her children begged her to show mercy, the more she dug in her heels. She seemed to take satisfaction in watching Amir waste away, as if his suffering was proof that her plan was working. When relatives came to intervene, She would smile sweetly and deny everything, then privately tell Amir that his pain would only get worse until he obeyed her. It was as if she had convinced herself that destroying her son's happiness was an act of love, and no amount of pleading from family members could penetrate the wall of justification she had built around her actions. The emotional breakdown was so severe that Amir literally fainted and fell into a week-long coma from a complete nervous breakdown. When he woke up, he would wake up screaming for no reason, requiring sedatives to calm down. After his release from the hospital, Amir refused to return home. He moved into the empty house he'd bought for his future with Lena, a house that now felt like a tomb for his dreams. While Amir was in his coma, Lena's condition worsened catastrophically. Her fever spiked so high she couldn't get out of bed or even open her eyes. Her parents rushed her to the hospital where she spent days in agony. When Amir finally called her after his release, just hearing her voice made him break down crying with relief. "I'm sorry," he told her. "I'm the reason this is happening to you." Lena was terrified and heartbroken. "How are you living alone? You just came out of a coma." But Amir only cared about one thing: her voice, her life. Lena described her nightmare. "My fever was so high I couldn't move. I couldn't even open my eyes. When they took me to the hospital, I felt like I was dying from the pain. My life is destroyed. I can't go to university anymore. All my courses are ruined because of this illness." Desperate, Amir told Lena's father everything: the 7-year relationship, his mother's demands, and the curse. Lena's father broke down crying. "So what's happening to my daughter? This is black magic." They brought in a sheikh, an Islamic religious leader trained in dealing with supernatural afflictions. When the sheikh began reciting Quranic verses over Lena, something terrifying happened. She screamed and began banging her head against the floor with supernatural strength. Blood poured from her nose before she lost consciousness. The sheikh confirmed their worst fears. "She's been cursed with both ingested magic and buried magic. We can't help her unless we find and destroy the buried spell first." Amir faced the most devastating decision of his life. Lena's father, with tears in his eyes, begged him, "If you really love my daughter, stay away from her. She's dying in front of us. She's my only daughter, only 24 years old. Don't let me lose her." With a heart full of hatred for his mother and love for Lena, Amir made the ultimate sacrifice. He went to his mother and literally fell to his knees, kissing her feet. "I'm begging you, Mother. Please break the curse on Lena. By God, if I marry anyone else, my life will be destroyed, and you're my mother. You love me. You wouldn't want to see your son destroyed." His mother's response was calculating. "How do I guarantee you'll marry Hala, the girl I want you to marry, your cousin, after I break the curse?" "There's no guarantee, and you have no other choice. I keep my word. When I say something, I do it. I will marry her just to save my love." In their own backyard, buried beneath a plant, they found the cursed items. Photos of Lena with written spells for suffering, failure, and illness, along with other grotesque materials. The sight was so disturbing that Amir couldn't even look, waiting in his car while crying and cursing himself. But even with the buried spell removed, Lena still needed to expel the ingested magic through religious healing sessions. For 6 days, the sheikh worked with her until finally, she vomited up the remaining curse and began to recover. The curse was broken, Lena was healthy, but their love seemed destroyed forever. Amir had to marry his cousin Hala and never contact the woman he'd loved for 7 years again. His mother had won through the most evil means possible. But here's where this story takes an even more shocking turn. After marrying Hala, a woman who knew he loved someone else but agreed anyway because she was desperate to escape her family's poverty, Amir's life became a living hell. Hala told him straight out, "I know you love her, but I'll make you love me." When Amir explained he would never love anyone but Lena, she said she was fine with that. She even swore on the Quran that she was okay with this arrangement. The marriage was a nightmare. Amir refused to eat her food, sleep in the same room, or even speak to her. He would order takeout rather than eat anything she cooked. When she tried to touch him, he'd recoil. He spent most of his time locked in his room, only coming out when he was sure she was asleep. During this time, Amir began having hallucinations. He was so desperate to see Lena that his mind created visions of her in his room. He would have full conversations with these hallucinations, telling Lena to be quiet so Hala wouldn't hear and tell his mother, who might curse her again. One day, Hala heard him talking and found him having a conversation with empty air. When she asked who he was talking to, he said Lena and pointed to the empty space, completely believing she was there. This led to forced psychiatric treatment and heavy medications that left him sleeping 16 hours a day. Meanwhile, the real Lena, now recovered from the curse, had gotten engaged to someone else. When Amir learned this through his sister, he completely broke down again. He stopped eating entirely, lost massive amounts of weight, and became skeletal. His family was terrified he would die. After 5 months of this torture, a car accident changed everything. Amir, his mother, and Hala were in a crash that left Amir in a coma for 4 months, his mother paralyzed, and Hala disfigured and blind in one eye. 3 young men in the other car died. When Amir finally woke up, he discovered that during his coma, Lena had broken off her engagement and had been visiting him in the hospital. She still loved him. Hala, now scarred and disabled, finally admitted the truth. "I'm sorry. I knew you could never love me. I was just desperate to escape my family's poverty. I thought your money would solve everything. I was wrong to agree to this marriage knowing you loved someone else." She asked for a divorce, and Amir gladly agreed. After the accident left Amir's mother paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair, everything changed. The woman who had once wielded her power so ruthlessly was now completely dependent on others. She would roll her wheelchair into Amir's room daily, tears streaming down her face as she begged, "Please forgive me, my son. I'm so sorry for everything I put you through. I realize now how wrong I was." Her voice would break as she continued, "I thought I was protecting you, but I nearly destroyed you instead. Please don't leave me like this. You're my son, and I love you." But Amir would simply stare at her with cold, empty eyes and respond, "I can't forgive you. Not after what you put me through." The accident had humbled her completely. The once controlling matriarch now spent her days crying, hiring nurses to care for her, and watching helplessly as her son maintained minimal contact. She had lost not just the use of her legs, but the respect and love of the child she claimed she was trying to protect. In her final years, she lived with the devastating realization that her manipulation had cost her the most precious thing of all, her relationship with her son. Finally free, Amir went to Lena's father to ask for her hand in marriage. But Lena's father refused. "I can't let my daughter go through that suffering again. What if your mother does something else?" Amir refused to give up. Despite the devastating first rejection, he returned to Lena's house just 3 days later with his brothers, hoping that persistence might change her father's mind. But once again, the answer was a firm no. "I can't risk my daughter's safety," her father insisted, his voice heavy with concern. A week later, Amir gathered every male relative he could find, his uncles, cousins, and family elders, creating such a large group that half of them had to stand outside Lena's family home because there wasn't enough seating. For hours, they pleaded, reasoned, and presented their case, but Lena's father remained unmoved. Undeterred, Amir returned 2 more times with the same group of relatives, each visit lasting several hours as they tried different approaches to convince him. The man's resolve seemed unshakable. Every logical argument was met with the same response. "I've seen what that family is capable of, and I won't put my daughter through that again." Finally, in desperation, Amir knew he needed someone with real authority in their community. He approached the tribal elder, the most respected man in their area, someone whose word carried immense weight in settling family disputes. This was his last hope. If the tribal sheikh couldn't convince Lena's father, nothing could. It took bringing the tribal elder to finally convince Lena's father. The elder vouched for Amir and guaranteed that his mother would never harm Lena again. The engagement was the happiest day of Amir's life. When they asked him if he wanted to wait to sign the marriage contract, he laughed and said, "I brought the Islamic marriage official with me. I'm not taking any chances." Today, Amir and Lena have been married for several years and have twin boys with another child on the way. Amir's business has flourished, and he's helped his brothers start their own successful ventures. But the relationship with his mother remains complicated. While Lena has forgiven her and even brings the children to visit their grandmother, Amir still struggles to fully forgive. "I can't lie to you," he admits. "When people ask if I've forgiven her, I say no. I still remember begging her on my knees to break the curse while she watched me suffer." Lena tries to encourage reconciliation, saying, "This is your mother. What happened is in the past." But Amir's trauma runs deep. He maintains minimal contact, speaking to his mother only when necessary and visiting primarily for Lena's sake. The most haunting part? Amir often wonders what would have happened if he'd received a call that his mother had died during those years of estrangement. "I realized I need to work on forgiving her," he says, "not for her sake, but for mine." This story exposes the devastating intersection of family loyalty, cultural expectations, and forbidden love in a world where supernatural beliefs still hold terrifying power. It shows how toxic love, whether from a possessive mother or a desperate woman, can destroy lives just as thoroughly as hatred. Amir's mother believed she was protecting her son's future, but her actions created a decade of suffering for 3 families. Hala's desperation for financial security led her to accept a loveless marriage that damaged everyone involved. And Amir learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is enduring hell to save someone else's life. How far would you go to save someone you love? Amir literally chose to destroy his own happiness, marry someone he despised, and endure years of psychological torture to save Lena's life. And what about forgiveness? Can you forgive someone who deliberately tried to destroy your life, even if they're family? This isn't just a story about black magic. It's about the real curses of emotional manipulation, generational trauma, toxic family dynamics, and the impossible choices we face when love collides with family expectations. It's about how desperation can drive people to make decisions that hurt everyone involved. What do you think? Was Amir right to sacrifice everything for Lena's health? Should he forgive his mother? Was Hala a victim of her circumstances or complicit in the suffering? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories from the Arab world that will challenge everything you think you know about love, family, and sacrifice. Until next time, remember, sometimes the greatest victory comes after the darkest battle, but the scars of that battle may never fully heal.